Welcome to the discussion. My guests today are Jill Singer, Vice President for National Security at AT&T Public Sector. Jill, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here.
And Richard Durand, Client Vice President for National Security, AT&T Public Sector. Richard, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jason. Glad to be here.
And let's just start with this idea of cybersecurity and how maybe some of these new technologies, whether it's software-defined network, and we talked a little bit about, or whether it's the WAN capabilities that we kind of mentioned, the kind of float on top. How is all that leading to better cybersecurity? Jill, do you want to pick that up?
Sure, I'm happy to pick that up. We've learned a lot about cyber vulnerabilities over the past 20, 30 years. And we've also learned as industry and as government where the points of vulnerability are and where the porous nature is of an IT infrastructure and how to correct those gaps and how to make it harder, if not impossible, for a cyber intruder to get into your environment. And we see those improvements in each of the technology maturities that are coming about time over time. We talk about layers and depths of defense and making sure that we're not relying on just one solution to protect an entire IT environment. That's not changed.
Yeah, just to add to that, I would say that while AT&T in particular has gotten very good at securing the legacy networks that have evolved over time, our security organizations and security leaders would tell you that, I think the internet was invented first and then security for the internet came after. Whereas as we migrate or evolve to software-defined technologies, cybersecurity is a key facet of the development process. So we are baking security into our software-defined networks, and virtualization allows us to do that. I think the other point on cyber relative to SDN in general is frequently our customers, not on a wholesale basis, but they focus on endpoint devices or perimeter security, and they really don't take a look at the network itself and some of the insights that you can gain from the network. With SDN, we're considering security as we roll out SDN. So it's one of the foundational technologies that is underpinning SDN.
I think that's probably, as we talked maybe about earlier, is that's why the intelligence community is attracted to software-defined networking. Is that part of that discussion that you're having?
Absolutely. If you have a network node, you can spin up a firewall. You can put perimeter security around that, and you can increase capacity, put patches out there.
Exactly. We've talked a lot about the network security, but as Joe mentioned, there has to be layers of defense, there's depths of defense, and one of the pieces here is the data. And I think if you go to a conference and talk about IT modernization, you also talk about protecting the data. It's all about the data. It's been the refrain now, I guess, for the last dozen or plus years. Jill, talk maybe a little about AT&T's perspective of protecting the data, because you guys just don't do network. It's got to be the data.
Yeah, we do protect our data, and we're actually working on a shift in how you protect your data and your applications with the assumption that every network has a point of penetration. Even a top secret network, there will be a point of penetration. And if you make an assumption that there are bad actors floating around on your network, or you won't be able to catch every malicious event that occurs, what is the saying we hear from CIOs? It's not a matter of if you get hacked, it's a matter of when you get hacked. So taking all of those points and looking at your data and your applications differently, we're moving to rings of security around individual data stores and rings of security around individual applications with multi-factor authentication, as well as software and hardware-based services to support those islands of the particular information, so that you are further protecting yourself should a malicious event happen in your IT environment.
And it comes back to me at least, to this idea of roles and responsibilities. So I think that's probably, I would imagine, the path that you guys are starting to go down is how to incorporate that at the data level, at the application level, and then within the network. I don't know if that opens the door for you to talk a little bit more about it, or if it's still on the sensitive side.
Well, I think, Jason, hit the nail on the head when you talk about the complexity, because it isn't just, here's a piece of data, now let me put a big fence around it, to use a physical metaphor. It really is, here's a piece of data, and here's the big fence around it, and here is a lock or biometric reader. Now, whose biometrics will I allow into this, or who will I give the key to? So it is becoming an extremely complex, layered set of access rules and access requirements. And being able to implement those is another reason that software defining the approach makes more sense. You can't get a piece of hardware that then has it's a cipher lock on the fence. And so to change the cipher on the fence, somebody goes out there and somebody changes it, and then you have to go share it around. You'd much rather have it be virtual, where you can, in a moment's notice, shut it down completely. Don't let anybody in there, even the people you thought you could trust, or change the characteristics of the people that you do trust, or change the mechanisms for getting in so that only the few who know the new sequence or the new combination can get into it. And doing all of that in a software-defined way will allow us to rapidly and responsively keep pace with the cyber threats to our data and to our applications for the future.